Sir, please state and spell your full name for the record.
Todd McNair, Todd McNair.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. May I go ahead and direct the exam?
First question. I want you to turn to this jury and answer this. Before the news reports came out in April or so of 2006 about anything having to do with Lloyd Lake and Reggie Bush, did you have any idea that Reggie Bush had received benefits from Lloyd Lake, or that Lloyd Lake and Reggie Bush had an agreement that Reggie Bush would go with the Lloyd Lake agency? Did you have any idea? Tell me.
Absolutely not.
So let's start with this. Let's go back and introduce you to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You know that you've been here for the whole trial, right?
Yes.
You've heard that all we've been putting on is their witnesses, right?
Yes.
Where were you born?
I'm sorry.
Where were you born?
In Pennsauken, New Jersey.
And when were you born?
August 16th, 1965.
Where do you live now?
Live in Glendale, California.
How long have you lived there?
14 years.
So let's fill in the things in between, okay?
Yes.
You went to grade school.
Yes, I did.
When did you first get involved with football? How old were you?
I was 7 years old. Started playing youth football in Pennsauken.
Okay. And then when you went to high school, did you start to play in high school?
Yes, played in Pennsauken High School as well.
All right, now let me tell you what. You can look at them, they're not going to bite you, okay? So when you testify, you're talking to them, all right?
Yes.
Okay. So, you go to Pennsauken High School,
Yes.
and what position did you start to play?
I played running back and safety.
Okay, now there's many people on the jury who may not know the football well enough. I think they have a sense of what a running back is, but what is a safety?
Safety is defense. When the other team is throwing passes, I try to intercept the pass and tackle when I'm in the back of the defense.
Okay. So, you start to play, and did you become, this has got to be immodest on this, all right? Did you become a star for Pennsauken High School?
Yes, I did.
Okay. At running back?
Both.
Both?
Both.
And then, at some point, did you in fact get inducted into some Hall of Fame in New Jersey? Tell me.
Yes, I was inducted into the South Jersey Hall of Fame. I live in South Jersey, which is closer to Philadelphia, and North Jersey is closer to New York.
So did you have sufficient success in high school that elite programs started to contact you about possibly playing for them?
Yes, they did.
Okay. And when we say elite programs, would you explain to them what that means in football in college?
Elite programs are, elite programs are the bigger schools, Division I schools that are constantly ranked in the top 25, like the top 25 teams in the country usually. They're the teams that are on TV, the bowl games, and they're running for national championships and stuff like that.
So some of those names that in the sports world we hear about all the time include Texas, Penn State, Florida, Florida State, maybe Washington, Notre Dame, USC. I mean, there's a group that kind of move in and out of that elite top 25 category, correct?
Yes.
And you tell them, is there a huge amount of competition for those players?
Oh yeah, it's definitely it's you want me to go into the recruiting, the whole.
Well, we'll get to there in a minute. Just was it?
But it's enormous competition. You got all the schools, all the top schools are favorable to kids, you know, because they get to be on TV and they'll play in the bowl games and stuff. And being an elite school, a lot of kids look at it, you know, as a easier way to get to the NFL, because the top schools are the best schools and they put the best, you know, they have the best players, so they put them into the NFL. So they, kids look to go. More kids look to go to the top schools as a way to get to the NFL.
Okay. So when you were being recruited, which school did you select to go to?
I went to Temple.
Okay. And that was in Philadelphia?
Philadelphia, yes.
And still is?
Still in Philadelphia.
All right. So you go to Temple, which was a major program.
Yes.
And at Temple, what position did you play?
Played running back.
Now, were you the fastest guy in the country?
Absolutely not.
Did you try your best?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, did you end up as the third leading rusher in the history of Temple University?
Yes, I did.
So when we say rusher, I never knew why when I was a kid it was called rushing, but when the quarterback hands the ball off, some people don't know football, okay?
Right.
Pardon us for explaining a little bit of this. When the quarterback hands off the football or laterals the football out to the running back, then when the running back runs, that's called rushing in the
Yes.
statistics, correct?
Yes.
And so if you can get back to the line of scrimmage where the play starts, any yards the running back can pick up beyond the line of scrimmage become rushing yards, correct?
Yes.
So if you get back to the line of scrimmage and you go 3 yards, you have 3 yards rushing, correct?
Yes.
And over the course of the game, and over the course of the season, and over the course of the career, you total up the number of yards rushed, correct?
Yes.
And so you were the third ranked in the history of Temple, correct?
That is correct.
All right. So when you were at Temple, well, let me back up a second. Is there something called All-American honors
Yes, there is.
in college football?
Yes.
Why don't you explain to them how that works? At the time that you were in college, just briefly.
It's sports writers. I guess the sports writers take a vote on the different positions in all of college football. It could be quarterbacks, the guys that throw the ball. It could be linemen, the guys that block, for the guys that run the ball and throw the ball. The sports writers take a vote on who are the best players in the country, and they give them a designation of All-American.
Okay. Did you get any All-American designations coming out of Temple?
Yes, I did.
Explain.
I was named. I was on a couple All-American teams. Second team on one, and honorable mention on another. So I got a couple.
Okay. So then, it was time to look at the NFL draft, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so when we say NFL, that's the National Football League, which is the professional level where players get paid to play, correct?
Yes.
In college, they don't get paid to play, correct?
That is correct.
They get scholarships, right?
Yes.
So explain, if you would then, the NFL draft as different from college recruiting.
All right. When you're being recruited in high school, the colleges, excuse me, the colleges all they target players, and they go find the players that they want to come and play at their school. The idea is to entice the kid to come to your school to play. The player has a total say in where he goes. He can choose any school that he wants to go to. The NFL is different. The NFL, in an attempt to have parity, the NFL will take the team with the worst record, will pick first from all the pool of college players. So the team with the worst picks first. The best team in the NFL, team with the best record, picks last. And that's an effort to make all the teams kind of, you know, parity in the league. But when you draft a player, they have no say in where they go. So if the team drafts you, you have to go there.
Okay, so just to follow through on that, the first round of the draft would start with the team with the worst record, then the second worst, then the third worst, and then up to basically the champion team from the year before, correct?
Correct.
All right, so that would be the first round. But that would just be like 32 players, right?
Yes.
And in your day, even fewer, correct? Or was it 32?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Could have been fewer.
Could have been fewer, okay. And so then, there's a lot of players still left that are sometimes pretty darn good, right?
Yes.
So you go to a second round, and the team with the worst record goes first in the second round, and then it goes down to the best.
Right.
And then the third round,
Yes.
and the fourth round, right?
Yes.
So, when you came out of Temple as an All-American Russian running back, did you get drafted?
Yes, I did.
Who drafted?
Kansas City Chiefs.
And when you were drafted in the first round,
No, I wasn't.
second,
No, I wasn't.
third?
No.
How many rounds did it go through before you were finally drafted?
I was drafted in the 8th round.
Okay. So were you happy just to have been drafted?
Yes.
Okay.
They don't have 8 rounds anymore. It's only 7
Okay.
in today's NFL.
Okay, so when you get drafted, even though you've been an All-American, for the pros, they didn't quite see it as high as maybe the All-American rankings saw it, correct?
Yes.
So did you go to work being a running back in the NFL?
Absolutely.
And as a running back, you were playing for the Chiefs first, correct?
Yes.
And did you get any honor from the team on the Chiefs?
You know, I started off actually on the practice squad. And the practice squad is they have an active roster. Then they keep a couple guys that show potential. A couple rookies. You have to be a rookie. Well, you have to be a young player that hadn't played before. You can't take a player that played and then put him on the practice squad. So I started on the practice squad, and I worked my way onto the active roster. I started playing, and then pretty soon, you know, I was named team captain for pretty much the duration, the rest of my career in Kansas City.
So you were an 8th round draft pick,
Yes.
working your way onto the
Active roster.
active roster, a team that players that actually played a game,
Yes.
and the team voted you as a team captain.
Yes.
Proud of that?
Yes.
Okay. So how long then did you play at Kansas City?
I played in Kansas. I played in Kansas City for 5 years. Then I went to Houston.
Okay, so explain how that happened. So you just said, oh, I think I'll go play for Houston now?
All right, you sign. Excuse me. You sign a contract for a certain amount of years, and to tell you the truth, contracts are kind of one-sided because if you sign a contract with the team, then you can't leave. You have to stay there the duration of your contract, but they can cut you if they want. Like, contract's not guaranteed, and they can cut you and not pay you anyway. So when your contract is up, you become a free agent, and then other teams can bid on you. If you're a free agent, you're not locked into that particular team, and the team can give you an offer, try and tie you under their team. Actually, free agency is the part where it's kind of ends up like recruiting. But the enticement is money, and being recruited out of high school to a school, it's a lot of different stuff involved. It's academics, it's environment, it's different stuff. In the NFL, if you're a free agent, pretty much the team that offers you the most money, you generally tend to go to. So my contract was up at Kansas City. I was a free agent, and I signed to Houston. Then I went to Houston.
Okay, and that's the Houston Oilers?
Houston Oilers at the time.
And how long did you play for Houston?
I was 2 years in Houston. Signed a 2-year deal.
And then what happened at the end of that?
End of 2-year deal, I came back to Kansas City. I was free agent again. I came back to Kansas City. They wanted to re-sign me. I missed it. I went back.
How many years did you play in the NFL?
I played 8.
So when you came back to Kansas City Chiefs,
Mhm.
did you play alongside a quarterback named Joe Montana?
Yes, I did.
All right, now again, there's people on the jury, and by the way, we're gonna walk through the whole history of first interview, second interview, Mr. Lay calls on October 29, we're gonna walk through all of that. But right now, we're just introducing your history to the ladies and gentlemen. Got it? So, for those who don't know, and there are some that inevitably do, who is Joe Montana?
Joe Montana is a quarterback that played for the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers were pretty much a dynasty in those days, and Joe is arguably the best quarterback that ever played. There's a debate. Tom Brady now is kind of widely recognized as the best, but there's always a debate with Joe Montana and Tom Brady.
Where do you come down on
I like Joe.
that? All right. So, you come to the point where you retire from the NFL,
Yes.
and can you put a year on that?
When I retired, it was 97. Actually, when I filed my retirement paperwork, stuff was 97, I believe.
Okay, so you're done playing
Mhm.
football,
Yes.
so what is the next step in your career?
Yeah, football was done. You know, and I had done football. That was the only thing I had ever known. And I kind of went home and was, you know, kind of adjusting. And a friend of mine called me. He had,
Let me stop you. When you say you went home, what do you mean?
went back to New Jersey. I'm sorry.
Right. Okay.
Went back to New Jersey. A friend of mine had gotten a job at high school and asked me. He knew I was home. He called, asked me to come help him out, and I jumped at the chance.
Okay. And what high school was that?
It was Camden High School,
Located in Camden?
Camden, New Jersey.
Okay. And what did you do in that first coaching stint that you had?
I was offensive coordinator. I mean, I called the offense.
Okay, now, that's another new term.
Uh,
Okay, so there's a running backs coach who coaches that position, the running backs. There might be a quarterback coach who coaches the quarterbacks. There might be an offensive line coach that coaches the offensive line.
yes.
The receivers coach that coaches the receivers out there. So what is an offensive coordinator? What does he or she do?
An offensive coordinator coordinates all of the positions, and I develop the plays. You know, I call the plays and put a coordination to the whole thing. You know, you have to know, you have to have a system to run. You have to understand the system, what these guys do, what all the positions do. And that's what I did.
So you were the OC then
Yes,
at Camden High School.
yes,
At the same time, were you doing some other work in the community?
yes. I was director of recreation at the City Housing Authority. Camden is a pretty impoverished place. We've always been in the top 3, most dangerous cities in America. And I was in charge of all the housing projects. I was in charge of doing all the recreation for the kids in housing projects. And then each housing project had an overseer, like a manager, somebody that manages on site that was a resident from the project. And so I coordinated with all those.
So how long did you do that kind of work, and how long did you coach at Camden High School?
I coached at Camden, excuse me, I coached at Camden, I believe 2 years, and I worked at the city, I worked at the Housing Authority for those 2 years. And those 2 years at least, maybe 3.
Okay. So what happens next in the development of your coaching career?
All right, friend of mine at that stage, I had a friend of mine that came. I told him to come. I got him to come to Camden and help us out. And then he ended up taking a job at his old high school, and they had won like 1 or 2 games in like 5 years. They were terrible. And he asked me to come down and help him out. You know, I thought we did a good job of turning the kids in Camden around. They were pretty much on the, because it wasn't just about coaching. I mean, Camden had one player the previous 7 years go to college and play football, and the couple years that we were there, I got Kevin Ross, who played with me at the Chiefs, and he's in Chiefs Hall of Fame, and I got him to come help us at Camden too, and that might have been our most rewarding time, because when we left, the year we left, I think 6 kids went to college and played ball and stuff. While I was at Camden, I would go up the street. This is recruiting stuff. Like, I would go up the street to the middle schools, and I'd sit on my truck, and I'd watch and see the big kids that came out of school, just big 8th, 6th, 7th, 8th graders. So I would grab a couple of them and bring them over to show and start to teach them weight room stuff and start to pour into them. And like I said, we had like 6 kids go to school and stuff. I had a quarterback at the school who, you know, Camden was a rough city. I had a quarterback who no dad, mom, you know that story. His mom was on drugs and stuff, and we brought him in. He would stay with us in the summertime, and so he stayed with me. And then there was one particular 8th grade kid that was, you know, he was self-motivated at a young age. You can kind of tell. And long story short, those 2 guys went on. The quarterback was a really charismatic kid, but he was a knucklehead in school, and so he ended up, he was signing, a really good athlete. Signing day, when it was time to go to colleges, they had these press conferences where your school, like if you go to Camden High, if you got a lot of players going to school, it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4 sitting up, 4 would be sitting at the table, say where you're going to college. Anyway, so he didn't get to go, so he's crying. And at that time, I had to tell him, like, look, I gotta wash my hands of you. You're on your own now. He went to Hudson Valley Junior College in New York, and like you're at the point now, you're on your own, bro. You gotta be a man, you know. So he went to Hudson Valley. Then he went to Western Carolina. And he got hooked up with Matt Rule. And Matt Rule was his DB coach. He was a defensive back, like I was a safety. He played passes and had to tackle people. So he hooked up with him, and him and Matt formed a really strong bond. And he turned his, you know, completely graduated from West Carolina, completely turned his life around, ended up going with Matt to Temple. The little defensive lineman, the big 8th grader I had, he went to Tulsa, then he went to Penn State. And he got hurt at Penn State, and Larry Johnson's a well-renowned defensive line coach. Larry Johnson I told you, he was a smart kid, and he was motivated. So Larry kept him on at Penn State. They honored his scholarship, and he ended up coaching with Larry. Long story short, they both ended up at Temple with Matt. Now, Matt, Coach Rule, he's the head coach at Baylor University. Francis, my quarterback, he's the assistant head coach at Baylor University, and they're grooming him to be a head coach. And Rafi, that's the 8th grader, big 8th grader, he went to Baylor too, but now he went to Texas A&M, and he makes like $600,000 as a D-line coach and stuff. So it was a really rewarding thing at Camden. So we knew we had those kids, and they were on the right path. So I went to Shalleck with Josh.
Wait a second. When you said D-line coach, that's the defensive line coach?
Defensive line coach, all right. You got offense and defense. On the offensive guys, you see a bunch of big guys up front, and they're bent over. right? And so they block to make holes for the running back so he can run through and gain the rush yards that Council was telling you about. The defensive line guys are on the other side. They're big guys and they're trying not to be blocked. And they're, so that's what he did, and that's what he throws.
All right, so you next go to the next high school. What was that?
I went to Shalleck High School. That's in Pittsgrove, New Jersey. Completely different. Camden's the hood. Shalleck is Mayberry. It's different. It's kind of farmland, and I went down there with him, and like I said, they had won 1 or 2 games. So we went down there. Josh was my friend that went down there. He went to Rutgers. He's a bright coach, and we started and they won 4 games that year, 3 or 4 games that year, and that was another fun year.
So up to that point, were you getting these coaching positions by submitting resumes or applications, or how were you getting them? Just
phone call.
phone call from the head coach?
From the head coach, phone call. Like I said, the head coach at Camden called me. Hey, I need you to help me. So I went out.
Okay.
Then I brought Josh with me to Camden, and then I called him. Brought him to Camden. Yo, that's Josh. So his alma mater, he went to Shalleck. That was his alma mater. They lost their coach. They called him. He went, asked me to come with him, so I went.
Okay, so then, while you're coaching at Shalleck, do you get a call about coaching in the NFL?
Yes, but before that, my call came because before that, we were, this is a couple years in now. I'm out of the league a couple years. I'm working at the housing authority. My wife has a big family, and family can drain you sometimes, and I was happy coaching. I was working at the housing authority and stuff, but we were getting a lot of, we started, I wanted to go somewhere else. I started to kind of want to go somewhere else. So before I got called, I called Mark Hatley, who was our player personnel director at Kansas City. A player personnel director is in charge of this whole scouting department. Scouting departments are the guys that go out and go to the colleges and look and see what players that they want. And then they come back and they do reports and stuff. Mark Hatley was the head of the scouting department. And I had a good relationship. I had a good relationship with those guys. And I didn't know I just know I know Mark. I called Mark, who had left Kansas City. He was the player personnel, he was the president of player personnel at the Chicago Bears. I didn't send no resumes and all that. I called Mark. Mark, I don't know, I think I want to coach. And he cut me off. Hey, I'll get you on a plane in 2 days, come on out here. I'll have whoever his secretary was, she'll call you and we'll get it hooked up. So she called me and they flew me out to Chicago. So I was there for a training camp and I was like an intern. And I loved it, back and it was cool because we were in meetings, they're in their personnel meetings and I'm sitting in the back and stuff would happen, there'd be a running back and T-Mac, what you think? Huh? And I tell him, it was pretty cool, I loved it. But then it was only an internship job and it only lasted through training camp and then I went back home. And that was kind of a downer. But the word had gotten out that I was out there with Mark. So at that time, it happened to be the people that I know were moving around. I think Marty Schottenheimer was my head coach in Kansas City. I think he was going to Washington. My running back coach when I was in Kansas City was Jimmy Ray. He was going to the Jets. And Bruce Arians, who was my head coach in college and my running back coach in Kansas City, he was going to Cleveland. So they had found out that I was in Chicago, did the internship with Mark, and I had a couple calls, once I left there, I had a couple calls and Bruce in the off season, after that season was over, and Bruce brought me out, asked me if I wanted to be the Browns running back coach. Jimmy wanted me to be assistant running back coach at the Jets, so I went to Cleveland.
Okay. And was that with Bruce Arians?
Bruce Arians, yes.
He was the head coach at Cleveland at the time?
He was the offensive coordinator, which is similar to what I just.
Right on. Okay. So you take this job with the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
How long were you at Cleveland?
I was in Cleveland for 3 seasons.
Okay. And then what happened? Why did you leave Cleveland?
We were fired, even though we were the last Cleveland Browns team to go to the playoffs. We were fired.
When you say that, for those who don't know, getting to the playoffs is what it's all about, right?
Oh yeah, Cleveland never gets playoffs ever. And I shot to look at Council because he's from Cleveland. He told me the other day, he remembers that team, we lost to Pittsburgh. Anyway, so was it just you that got fired, or did the whole offensive coordinator and offensive staff? the whole offense, how it usually works in the NFL, if you're, all right, Bruce was offensive coordinator, and he brings his guys, the guys that he wants, he brings them in and they coach for him. So he has a staff, and it's usually people you know, people you trust, you call your staff. So when if the head coach fires him, then we all go. Because they'll have a new offensive coordinator who's going to bring in his guys. And, undermining, you don't want to bring somebody from the last staff. They might be secretly kind of, I should have been the offensive coordinator, and they put you there, and then he's undermining you. Well, we ran this, we win. So they cleaned house.
Okay. So there you were. You're done with the Cleveland Browns.
Yes.
What happens next? Tell me.
We got fired in Cleveland, and it just so happens I got fired in Cleveland, and they replaced me with the USC running back coach. His name is Kennedy Pola. Carl Smith. When Bruce went to Cleveland, he brought a quarterback coach that he was friends with in New Orleans. Me and him became real good friends. He was friends with Pete Carroll. So when USC lost their running back coach to Cleveland, and they lost their quarterback coach, Steve Sarkisian, to Oakland, they had 2 positions. Pete knew Carl Smith, so he called Carl. Carl went out there and Pete hired him, and they had a running back spot open, and Carl told him, I got your running back coach, and he told him about me, and that's how I ended up at USC.
So all of these jobs over the years in coaching, did you ever submit a resume?
Never, not once.
Did you ever go to like the personnel department at that university and fill out an application form for a job as a running back coach?
No.
Is that the way it happens at the elite level?
No.
Is it?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I'm sure, but that's not my experience.
Is it relationships, history, connections, things like that?
Yes.
Okay. That name, Matt Rule,
Yes.
that you've mentioned a couple of times, let's remember that name for a little bit later. Okay?
Yes.
So, just a quick summary of how you got that job at SC in your interview. Just tell them what happened.
Tell my interview.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yes.
All right. We got fired from USC, and we immediately packed up, went back to Jersey. And
Wait, you said you got?
I got fired. I'm sorry. Got fired from Cleveland.
Cleveland. Okay.
Cleveland. Got fired from Cleveland. Went back to Jersey, and I got a call from Carl. That was the guy that was with us at Cleveland, that knew Pete Carroll. I got a call from Carl, and Carl was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just hanging out." He said, "You gotta go over to Philadelphia. You gotta meet with Pete." I'm like, "Pete who?" Like, I knew him, but I didn't know he was talking. He said, "Pete Carroll. They're in Philly. He wants to talk to you." So I'm like, "Okay, for what?" Basically, he was like, "Well, you got an interview. Get over there and do it." So I'm like I said, my experience is just, you get friends, they call you, so I'm a little nervous. I don't want to go over there and interview. I don't have no clothes. I came home we're only home for the weekend. I got Tim boots and jeans. And I didn't want to go over there. To me, I figured it'd be a waste of time. And I never really formally interviewed. So, but he said, just get over there. I'm like, he'll call you. I said, okay. So a couple minutes later, it's Pete Carroll. And Pete's a high energy guy. So he's like, well, why don't you come over and talk to us? We're at the airport.
And he was the head coach at USC?
Head coach at USC. They had just won the national championship. And I'm like, Coach, I'm hemming him. I was like, Coach, I don't have no clothes. It's really, I don't have a haircut. And so he's like, that doesn't matter. Just get over here. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, all right. So I go over there, and to date, I've done the high school thing, and I was at Cleveland, right? So there's no recruiting remember the draft. There's no recruiting in the NFL. So I've never done any recruiting before. So I get up there, and we sit down. It's Pete, Lane Kiffin, and Ed Ogeron. So they immediately start asking me like, all right, so what is your recruiting philosophy? I don't know. I don't have one. I never recruited before. And so they're like, okay. They asked me some football stuff. Oh, that's easy. This, that. So they asked me something else about recruiting. Like, what is my strategy for this with recruiting? I'm like, listen, man. I don't know, but if they're young kids and they're players, especially a lot of them are African American kids, like I'll get them. So I can see they're kind of reeling in their seats, like leaning back. And they're going on and on, and get another recruiting question. I said, Coach, I don't know, but if they're kids, I relate to kids, I'll get them. But, I said, then I had to stop. I said, listen, I'm sitting here because somebody that knows me, what I mean, and I can't tell you, I can tell you, but I can't prove to you that I can recruit kids. So they're kind of like, so then they asked me a question. This is what got me the job. They asked me a question. They said, okay. And I found out later on they're talking about Lendell White. Lendell was a volatile, emotional guy. So they said, okay. They said, if you have a kid on the sidelines and he's blowing up and he's going crazy, and nobody can control, how do you handle that? So that's easy. So I said, all right. I said, first of all, you gotta understand that a lot of these kids are raised by single mothers, right? And everybody's emotional. Men are emotional, women are emotional, but it's going to manifest itself in different ways. So, and this is what I'm telling Pete now. So, if anybody knows, has any history of Pete Carroll, he's on the edge of his seat now. He's a different coach, and he gets into more than just football. So I said, it manifests itself in different ways. I said, and sometimes, your wife, your girlfriend, she can get emotional and flare up in different ways. The players can be, it's gonna manifest a different way. So I said, so the first thing you gotta do, most people, when they're emotional, and we're in an argument or a debate or some first thing you do, you gotta agree with them. You're right. You're okay. You're absolutely 100% right. You know what I mean? And once that disarms the conflict. And once you agree with somebody, you acknowledge that I know what you're talking about, I know how you feel. You're right. Then you can reason. And I'm going into all that. Pete liked it, and he, Pete was cool. We shook hands. I left out of there. I got in the car. Carl called me. He was like, so how'd it go? I'm not gonna get that job because I bought everything else. I didn't know the questions they asked me. So I'm like, I'm not gonna get that job. But they ended up calling me, and I ended up going out there. That was it.
And did you become at USC one of the top recruiters in America?
Yes, I did.
Did you relate to the kids? Is that what it was all about?
Yes, it's more than that. I relate to the kids, but you have to. I was a national recruiter at USC.
Okay, explain. National recruiter at USC versus other recruiters.
All right. All coaches on the staff, everybody has an area to recruit. All right, USC is here in LA. One coach might have LA City section. One coach might have Orange County. Another coach might have the Bay Area. Another coach I had an IE. I was the national recruiter. So the kids that I would go get, first guy I ever signed was Brian Cushing. He plays for the Houston Texans now, or he did, he's probably created. But so he was from New Jersey. Recruited Kyle Moore from Georgia, Bryce Butler from Georgia. You know, my kids come from far away. Excuse me. So, you know, you had to relate to the kids, but more importantly, the most important thing was you had to relate to the parents. And it was all.
Explain that.
I mean, you had to. If I come to your house, if you're in New Jersey or if you're in Florida or something, I come to your house. You don't know me from Adam. You don't know anything about the school or whatever. You know, once we get to the point where I can come to your house, the NCAA regulates that how many times you can come to the house, home visits and stuff like that. I'm the only representative. I'm the only thing you're going to see from USC. It's me. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to talk you into allowing your child to go 3,000 miles to school instead of Georgia, which is right up the street. So there's an extreme amount of trust. There's an extreme amount of relationship you got to build. It's probably a little under a year process. We actually start targeting our players where we're going off on the scholarship and stuff like that in May. And by May of their junior year, so September they're seniors, they play their senior year, and then in February, it's signing date. They sign, let them know where you want to go. So, and in recruiting, it's a rule. You got to win the mom. The mom has to trust you. You have to have a good relationship with the mom. It has to be, I mean, that's an extremely important relationship that you have to foster. And you can't fool moms. Moms will read right through your mess if you come in there bull crapping and, you know, salesman and all that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't send my child from New Jersey to California to play football. That's just me. So it's a serious relationship and a bond. You have to become part of the family. You know what I mean? And so that part of it is really difficult. I mean, it's not really difficult. It's difficult to get them to let their kids go 3,000 miles to, you know what I mean?
So you were the national recruiter.
I was a national recruiter for USC.
Okay.
And all my kids were coming from far away.
Okay, so. One of the things I talked about in my opening statement, you remember, is that great old saying from the old football coach, Luke Rocky, that players work better when the players are big. Remember that?
Yes.
How important, one of the things is you recruit the player.
Yes.
And then the other thing is that you then develop them and coach them up as a player.
Yes.
Can you do just one of those things? Like if you just recruit Bruce Broillet, no matter how, don't laugh. Okay, you can smile. If you just recruit people like me who are like me, no matter how good a coach you are you going to turn me into a Heisman Trophy winner?
Absolutely not.
You didn't have to say absolutely. That's why I went to basketball. Okay, now on the other hand, if you recruit a great running back from high school with tremendous potential, but then you can't coach them up and develop them as a college player to their potential, even if it's a great athlete and a great high school student and a great kid, if you can't coach them up, are you ever going to get them to a Heisman Trophy?
No.
So 2 pieces, recruiting.
Oh yeah,
coaching.
recruiting and coaching, because at the highest levels, you're all recruiting the same kids. The kids at Alabama are the same kids, the kids at Auburn, the kids at Miami, the same kids at Florida State. The kids at UCLA, almost same kids at USC. So you're pretty much trying. Everybody's trying to recruit the same kids. So you have to be able to coach them up. So it's two pieces to it.
Okay. Now, by the way, you mentioned before, as an example, Lendell White.
Yes.
Lendell White was another running back along with Reggie Bush on that team, right?
Yes.
And he also was a spectacular running back, correct?
Lendell started before Reggie Bush. Reggie Bush only started one season for us. Lendell was pretty much the starter. Out of the 3 years they were there, Lendell started more than Reggie.
And then that year that Reggie Bush went into the draft, and we'll get to that in a little bit, Lendell also was picked in the NFL draft, correct?
Yes.
You coached them both.
Yes.
Okay, so you get to SC,
Yes.
and Reggie Bush and Lendell White were already there, correct?
Yes.
They were freshmen when you arrived, right?
Yes.
So let's put a date on that. You arrived at USC in
February 04?
February 2004.
Yes.
So they had played their first season, both of them,
Yes.
and had won the national championship,
Yes.
which occurred back just after January 1 or on January 1.
Somewhere around that time would be correct.
Okay, and so you come in February, and you first meet Reggie Bush, Lendell White, other coaches on the team, other players become part of the coaching staff, correct?
Yes.
So we got a little video here that's about 4 minutes long, Your Honor, and we're not going to ask it to go into evidence. We agree with counsel that it can be shown as a demonstrative, but it will not be put into evidence.
Okay.
So,
It's agreed, that's fine with me.
It's agreed, Your Honor.
Thank you.
so what we have, the first part is his playing days at Kansas City. And then the second part is when he was mic'd up, back in the days when he was coaching running backs at SC. And it shows him out there doing his thing and how he related to the players. So if we can play that.
Okay, thank you.
Marcus Allen, the great one, the former Raider, Todd McNair, he could be the surprise of this game. Burton and Davis. Montana's first pass complete to Todd McNair, and a first down at the 33-yard line. Go Orlando leading the defensive charge.
Dick, one of the things Kansas City wants to do is a lot of different formations, giving them a lot of different looks. That time McNair was out in the slot. He's a running back, flanked out about 6 yards away from the offensive line, and you see the free safety Bo Orlando 26 has to cover it. That's what their intention is. Give them a lot of different looks offensively.
All right. And McNair in motion. So instead of first and goal at the 5, it's 2nd and 15. Screen. And nothing there at all. That was to Todd McNair and Michael Barrow right in the middle of it.
Actually, he was more open than McNair was. He was barreling down right on McNair to come up with the interception. Buddy loves this Barrow kid. Now watch what happens at... This is Barrow right here. Watch what happens. He reads this screen beautifully. He's locked on to McNair, sees it right there. And as he goes out of the picture, Barrow is right there to make the tackle the instant the ball is caught.
McNair in motion. 9 sacks to tie the playoff record for Kansas City.
Any starting linebackers practicing today? What? Any starting linebackers practicing today?
Is that you?
You practicing today? I mean the whole practice. I don't mean individual. I don't mean 7-on-7. Move your feet. Now move your feet laterally and don't cross. Hey, don't cross over. Move your feet laterally. Don't cross over. Here we go. Say go. Inside out. Things inside half of the C. There you go. Back up. C. Reset it. Here we go. Say go. Oh, nice spin move. Mark, you're up. Mark, now Steph is up. Inside out. Say go. Kiss the move out. Oh, now this mugging. This mug. No, pancaking. This this box is ah! Here we go, boy. Good job, man. Good job, boy. This is my dude, Dad. Yeah, here we go. You're swinging now, free, swing hard, wide. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. Because if you don't, that outside guy, even though now you're gonna fall, you're gonna take on those guys and make a move or whatever, he's gonna fall back inside on you. True, this is an honor system. When I did that, you looked, didn't you? You lying, man. You played the game. I did that, you looked. Huh? I got you, didn't I? Come on, let me give you two. Yeah, I got you. I got cameraman too. He lied to him. Come on, man. Come on.
When you would recruit these kids, the stars from around the country, high school stars, were there rules at the NCAA that you had to follow?
Yes.
You could only do certain things at certain times of the year. You could only have, one official visit to the school.
Yes.
Did you always follow the rules?
Yes.
Have you always followed the rules?
Yes.
So, the year 2004, February, and all right, look, we can all see that you're cheering up. Tell us, what do you feel? Todd, go ahead, tell us. Okay, let me ask you a different question. Are we together?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm good.
okay. You know what, let me lighten it up for you a little bit again. How exciting was it to play in the NFL?
It was exciting. It was real exciting.
How proud were you?
Very.
How exciting was it to coach at SC?
Really exciting.
Were you proud?
Very.
Did you have a high standing in the community?
Say again.
Did you feel that you got respect from people in the community?
Yes. Yes.
Did you live in an area where there were a lot of USC people?
Yeah. We decided where to live. That's how I chose where to live. Because I went to administration. I asked people, I was talking about school districts and stuff, and they recommended Glendale. We had a lot of USC people and faculty in the school district.
Okay. You all right?
I'm good.
Got some water up there?
Yeah, I got some. I'm good.
Take a swig if you need it, okay?
I'm good. Had some.
Okay. All right. So you start to work with this fellow Reggie Bush.
Yes.
Talented?
Very.
And did you start to develop a relationship with him?
Yes,
And did you become close with him?
yes,
Did you also develop a relationship with Wendell White?
yes.
So we now go through the rest of that first year. And so when you come on board, in February of '04, had spring training started yet?
No, not yet.
Okay, so everybody on the jury would know that there's a football season in late August, September, October, November, December, into the bowl games to the beginning of January.
Correct.
That's the season.
Correct.
But explain for those who don't know about spring practice and take it right to the spring game.
Okay, all right. You're allowed, the schedule kind of goes, you're allowed, season's over, bowl game's over. Now, February is signing date, so all those kids you've been recruiting since last May are, they're deciding where they're gonna go to school, and they have to sign a letter of intent and fax it overnight. Then, you got the month of February is pretty much coaches going over, we go over every single play that happened the whole season before that. That's where you do all your self-scout, self-evaluation, plays you're running, players you have. Then we get to spring ball. Now, spring ball is the spring practice. You're allowed 15 practices by NCAA rules. So over, I think we'll practice 3 times a week for 5 weeks or something to that effect, and it culminates in a spring game. Spring game is pretty, the fans come out to spring games, usually in the stadium. Everybody comes to see the players, you know, you play against yourself. The spring game is you're playing against yourself. Your offense against your defense. There's not another team involved. And it's pretty cool though. You get to see the development of the players and stuff. Alumni come back, you know, parents come out. They want to see how their kids are developing. And then spring games. That's March and April. Yeah, March and April. March and April.
Okay, so let's look at that calendar. In fact, we're starting to look at the whole year. We're doing that as a circle, like January around to December, because that's our minds. And so the season ends, the coaches are doing their work, but the players can't start practicing yet by the rules.
Excuse me, exactly.
Then, following the rules, there's a certain number of practices, limited number of hours, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
And you have the spring game,
Mm-hmm.
where the team is playing against itself, and the fans come and watch, and everybody gets excited, and you see which players are doing well, and which have grown better from the last year,
Right.
and which ones are getting coached up.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Then, after that spring game, you start, or you go back into recruiting, correct?
Yes, May, the month of May is our recruiting time.
Okay, so May is recruiting time, and then in a few weeks before the football season starts, then you start having fall practice, getting ready for the season, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Well,
We
you tell me
start
if I'm
training camp starts, all right, we're off the road in May. All right, when we get off the road in May,
You mean from recruiting?
from recruiting.
Okay,
Like me, I would leave, I would go out and I'd be going for 30 straight days. I come back at the end of the month. Then, now it's June. Now June, we don't deal with our own players. They're training on their own with our strength coach. They have to stay training year round. So they're training with the strength coach. We don't do nothing with our own players. But June, if anybody has kids, you understand that's camp time. So like, we'll have a camp for the 3rd and 4th graders. We'll have a camp. Beg your pardon?
Do you have a camp
For the 3rd and 4th graders, the youth. Then there might be a camp for the general high school skill position. Then it's a camp for the general high school linemen. Linemen are the big guys that block. Then it's a camp for, we used to have a fantasy camp for alumni that come from all over the country we give them a USC football experience. It's pretty crazy, but it was fun. But then it's an elite camp. But then now you're talking and I always remember this by the BET Awards. We're having an elite camp where we have invite. You know, we invite a bunch of players from around the country to come out. See, and recruiting's always coordination. Like we have our elite camp for the best players in the country, and you try to get them all to come in there together. Like, you know what I mean? So the month of June, we're kind of grinding on camps. It's like camp every day. There was 600 kids. Like at a youth, the little guys, there's 600 little guys. And like I said, I always remember BET Awards always late June, and then we're done. Now we're on vacation. We go away to coaches. July is our only month of the year that we're not grinding. So then we come back in August, and August starts training camp to get ready for the season.
Okay, so during that off-season time, we hear about weight room.
Yes.
Are the players a lot in the weight room building their bodies so that they can handle the wear and tear of the football season?
Absolutely.
So when we think of the football thing, we think about the season, but it's really, for coaches and players alike, it's a year-round process, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. So you go through that first spring training, ending up in the spring inter-squad game.
Spring game. Mm-hmm.
And then you go through your recruiting and coaches having all the camps in June. Then you get a little time in July. And you mentioned, for people who have have kids.
Yes.
You have kids?
Yes.
Okay. And you're married to
Lynette.
Lynette. And Lynette is here today, but she's in the hall, correct?
Yes.
So just so everybody knows not to approach her, she's wearing, I think, gray pants and a black little jacket?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you go through all of this, and then you start up again in August. During the season, what kind of hours did you coaches keep?
We would get in at first meeting, I think, started at 7 o'clock. And we'd get out of there generally 11 o'clock, midnight, somewhere around like that. Thursdays, maybe we got off a little early, like 9, 8 sometime.
I mean,
It's like 15 hours.
I once saw a playbook. I saw it in 1967 for a player. And even back then, the playbook was like about 8 inches thick, page after page of different plays. Even bigger than that now?
It's still like that.
So is football just, you get big guys and you go out there and you just run, and just figure out what you're going to do because you're such an athlete, or is there detailed planning and understanding of the game plan in football?
It's extremely, football is all mental. As you go up, like little guys, they're out there running around. Fastest guy scores. You know what I mean? Then you get to high school, and they can assimilate, what you're teaching them, and they can, it's a little more advanced. Then you get to college, and it's even more so. NFL. In the NFL, everybody, if you weren't an elite athlete, you wouldn't be in the NFL. But then it's 90% of it is mental. So the guys that don't make it in the league, they couldn't process information and diagnose stuff on the fly. You know what I mean? Because obviously, if you're there, they have the combines and all that stuff. You're big, you're strong, you're fast, but you have to process information on the fly quickly and diagnose stuff, and it still has to tie into what the strategy is.
So like the quarterback sets up, and he's got a play in mind.
Right.
And he looks around and he looks at where the defensive players are. Oh, the safety's over here now,
Mm-hmm.
not over here. And the corners have pinched in a little too tight. And the linemen are set up in a certain way, and I'm looking at this and I'm studying it and I'm going, uh-oh, something different's gonna happen. So as the quarterback, I then call an audible. and I call out a different play for my team because I have figured out, because I know my subject and all the plays, I figured out what we're looking at, and I changed the play right there at the line of scrimmage. And that's what distinguishes, for example, the Joe Montana and Tom Brady. They can see because it's mental, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely. Like you just said, if I'm a receiver, you know, the quarterback's going through all that changes. He thinks, okay, they're in a certain alignment, and he thinks, okay, the ball should go there. And then, like, they might line up in a certain alignment, then they might start moving, and they move around. So now he's got to say, okay, I gotta, like counsel say, I gotta get audible, right? If I'm a wide receiver, now I got one play, I know I got to slant. I got to go up and in here to be open to catch the ball. Now this guy's moving back. The linebacker's moving up. Now I'm knowing that I got to change what I do. Then he changes the whole play. And now it's different, you know, it's incredibly complex. You know what I mean? Like the average person would never, especially at NFL level, they never could comprehend how much stuff goes into actually functioning in a play.
Okay. All right. So you start the next season. So now Reggie Bush is a sophomore,
Yes.
and you're starting your first season coaching for USC during the regular season.
Yes.
And you're also coaching up Lendell White.
Yes.
And how did the
And
team...
my fullbacks now. I can't leave my fullbacks out. I got
Okay.
Lee Webb, I got David Kirkman.
All right, don't want to leave anybody out. It's, I mean, there's a camera here, so
Yeah, always complaining they get left out.
they might watch it. So, okay, so how did the season go that sophomore year? That would be during the year, the fall of 2004, leading to hopefully a championship game in 2005, just at the beginning of 2004.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yes.
Okay, all right, so how did the 2004 regular season go?
We went undefeated. We didn't lose a game.
How'd that make you
Felt real good.
feel? Okay, got it. And so then you competed for the national championship?
Yes, we did.
So in those days, it was called the BCS?
Yes.
All right, and so the BCS had a formula to pick what it determined were the two top teams in America and put them together in the national championship game, right?
Yes.
And that year, where was the game held? This would be
First, that was Miami.
Miami, and we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
I jumped the gun here. It was
Sorry.
just probably, was it on January 1, January 5, something like that?
And it would be January 1st is the General Bowl game, you know, the bigger bowl, Rose Bowls and, you know, the Cotton Bowls, that stuff. But when the BCS started, the national championship game would be a little bit after that.
Okay, so sometime in the first week or 10 days of January.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
All right. So USC made it to the national championship game against whom?
Oklahoma.
Okay. And that game was held where?
Miami.
At the Orange Bowl?
Orange Bowl, yes.
The next year, a year later, the national championship game would be held here in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl, right?
Yes.
Okay, but let's go back to that one at Miami in the Orange Bowl. Who won?
We did.
How'd that make you feel?
Felt great.
Running backs perform well,
Oh, yeah. Always.
without fail?
Without fail.
Okay. So, and how does that help you with recruiting, that you're coaching really good running backs and you win the national championship?
It helps a great deal. You know, when your position group is successful, you know, you can show the best running backs in the country that are in high school, you can show them how you make them successful. You have like Reggie and Lindell were two completely different players. Lindell was 250 pounds. He was a big guy. He was a brute. You know, he knocked guys over and stuff. And Reggie was a little, he was fast and outran people that were missing. So you had roles. They had roles, you know, within the offense. So if it's a high school kid that's a big guy that knocks people over, I could show him like, this is what we want you to play. We want you to be this role. If it's a little guy that's a fast guy, you know, we can show him Reggie stuff. That's what we do with him. Split him out, catch his passes, receiver sometimes, running back, and you know that, especially like him having won the Heisman, we can tell you're just as you fit your skill set. You can look at TV, you know that's your skill set, and this is what we'll do with you too.
Well, the Heisman wasn't for another year,
No,
right?
no,
Am I right?
You're right.
Okay, so we're in Miami, January of 2005, having just won the national championship against Oklahoma.
Yes.
And then you're on the East Coast, and did you continue recruiting while you were there back in Florida?
Yes, we were in Miami, so we're on the East Coast, and the team and everybody, families, everybody went back to California, but I went up the East Coast. We had some recruits that we were trying to close out. You know, recruiting's you got to be on it all the way through the end. So I left Miami and I went to Georgia to Kyle Moore's house. He was a defensive end, a defensive lineman again, and he was at Georgia. And
Okay. All right. So that year goes along. You have spring practice again. You have the spring game, the intra-squad game at the end of the spring practices. Then you do your May recruiting in 2005, and then the camps with all the kids coming in from the tiny tots to the elite players in June of 2005, and the cycle just continues. You get
Yes.
some time in July, then in August you start up with fall camp leading to the next season. Right?
yes,
Okay, so now we're going to get to the season in the fall of 2005,
yes,
leading to a national championship game again, right?
yes,
Okay, before we get there, let's back up. So now Reggie Bush is in his junior year.
yes.
And in that year, how did USC do during the regular season?
Didn't lose a game.
Undefeated.
Undefeated.
And how was Reggie Bush, now that you had a chance to coach him up?
How was he?
Yeah.
Was he good? He was great.
Okay, well, you know, you can give him a little more props than that. He was,
He was the #1 college player, #1 player in all of college football.
okay, so was he voted the Heisman Trophy in the winter of 2005?
Yes, yes.
All right, so I know I talked about it in opening statement. Why don't you give them just a really brief thumbnail of what the Heisman Trophy is?
The Heisman Trophy is the award that the writers and maybe the coaches, it's an award they give for the best player in the entire nation in all of college football, #1 player.
Okay, so he gets the Heisman Trophy. That's presented at the New York Athletic Club in New York City.
The which?
New York Athletic Club?
Yes. Is it Maxwell Club?
Oh, is it Maxwell?
What did you say?
New York Athletic Club.
I think it's Maxwell, maybe it's changed.
Okay, good enough.
Mhm.
But it's New York City.
New York City, yes.
All right. So how does that help you with recruiting? That you have just coached the winner of the Heisman Trophy as a running back?
It's very enticing. A kid can see that if he would have that opportunity also.
Did you continue to recruit top running backs at USC all the way?
Yes,
Did you use the same techniques of making sure the mom trusts you and talking to the kid about what can happen if they play football for USC?
You have to. I mean, it's not a technique. I mean, you have, excuse me. I mean, you have to just develop a relationship. And like I said, moms are key. Moms know, you know, if you're a snake oil salesman, you know what I mean? And it's not just the mom. It's key because the whole family. If the sister doesn't like you, if you rub the sister wrong, if you rub the brother like, oh, that's not good. It's not good at all. Anything negative is not good. So like I said, they have to feel that you're part of the family pretty much, especially with, you know, understanding that the kid has got a long way to go. And you're gonna be their only contact. I mean, not only, but you are the contact. Any family emergency, if they can't get a hold of him, they're gonna call you. You know what I mean? If the kid gets a little distant and then he doesn't call home as much or anything, they're gonna call you. You know what I mean? So it has to be that type of relationship. There's a lot of trust that goes into it.
Okay, Your Honor, this is a natural working point.
Okay. I was gonna wait